So welcome to this tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how I made Miracle No Dey Tire Jesus, the instrumental. So it sounded like this after I mixed and mastered it. So I'll be working with a rough production to show you how I did it. So let me just keep it forward. So let me skip it here again. All right, so that's how the song went. So let me just walk you through how I actually came up with this track. So the first thing I usually do is I export the vocals out. I fit the song into timing. So this song in particular was 120 BPM. So I, you know, extracted the vocal out, fit it to timing and before I started anything. So the first thing I actually did with this vocal was to extract this vox that came in at the beginning. I don't know what it is, but I just exported it. It sounded like this. So yeah, I exported that out separately. So I'll be walking you through the percussion first before I go through the instrumentals. So mind you, what you heard at first was mixed and mastered. So during the mix, I actually doubled some of the things and panned it, but this was just the basic idea. So the first thing here is this click. Very, very simple click. Then I added this other click to thicken it up. So just give it that sound. So then I added this another click here. So another click was added here. So I move on to the metal sound. The metal sound sounded like this alone. So all I did was just to duplicate it on another sound to make another type to make it thicker. So this was more like a wood sound, and the first one was more like a metal sound. So the two sounded like this. So if I'm to solo everything now, you'll hear it like this. So the next sound I added was this wood sound, and it came in at some point in the song here. So where the major solo started, that was where the wood came in to join. So it sounded like that. So I doubled it to another one that sounded like this. Then the last one, which was this. So the three together sounds like this. So if I solo others, it sounds like this. If you notice, I'm sending some of these sounds to the mixer. For example, here I sent this and I added a parametric EQ here at the beginning. Yeah, I actually do this because it makes mixing easier. So I actually just cut out a lot from the low frequency there. So I cut it out. So I do this a lot before I even think of mixing. So I do sound design the way I want it to sound. So when I want to mix, I won't be doing too much mix. So the next thing I had here was this loop, which was like the drive for the whole thing. And it sounded like this. A very, very simple loop. Then I added another loop. But this loop I sent it to a mixer channel where I actually removed a lot from the low end. So it sounds like this. So if you listen to the loop very well, you'll note that there's a lot of low end in it. So in which I didn't want to conflict with the kick. So I took that out just to make it sound the way it sounded. So everything so far sounded like this. Like you know, at the beginning of the song, there was nothing going on. It was more of a cappella. Then the song became more full when the solo entered. Let me solo the vocal so you should hear the vibe even without kick. So that was the major drive. Then the next thing I added was congas. The first conga started from here. So it's very simple. It's just bam, bam. So then the next conga, let me show you what that was doing. So it was to do. So so that was what the second conga was doing. Then the third conga was just like a constant conga. Let me solo this conga alone. So the last one. So that was what the conga was doing. So the kick came in somewhere around this point here. So it sounded like this. So basically that was the whole drive for the song, the major drive. Then the other things were just the rollings. So the first rolling at the beginning sounded like this. So somewhere around there was another rolling. So this second rolling sounded like this around there. So that was the rolling that brought the song. So what I did was I actually replicated this rolling in various places like that because they were repeated. So the only part I actually changed rolling was around this point here. So that rolling was a bit different there. So yeah, the rolling was a bit different. So you could just work this out. So it required a lot of chopping and chopping to get that. So let me not waste time on that and move to other things. So moving to the instrument, the first thing I had here was this sub bass, and this sub bass was from 3S OSC. So I dropped it 2 octaves downward. So the sub bass sounded like this. So what I did for this sub bass was that I duplicated it into a bass for the intro. And this bass basically, as you all know, I love using modo bass, and for this particular song I made use of this metal bass here on modo bass. I think I did some modification but I can't remember, but let me just show you. I think this was my setting. I did some modification to it but I can't remember what exactly I did. So that was just the bass, so I just duplicated it into this bass channel. So the next thing was this piano sound, and this piano sound was basically from EZ Keys Dream Machine. So let me show you what the piano was playing. Now this piano just repeated the same thing throughout the whole song. So it sounded like this. So on this piano too, let me just show you what it played, but it was similar. Same thing. So what you observe is that in this piano 2 section, that sharp pause wasn't there. So that's just basically the difference between the two. So the next thing I added was this pad, and it was just a pad that was playing all through the song, and it's Warm Fuzzy. That was the name of the pad. Then this pad was sent to a mixer channel about 10, where I actually cut out some of the high ends here. So the custom pads sound like this alone. So it played all throughout the song. So I added another pad here that was just playing the progression also, but with a different inversion. So this pad also was Wamsi Fuzzy, the first one. Then I played chords with this one. It wasn't constant, so it sounded like this. So that's what the pad was doing. So I duplicated it into another type of pad so I could just pan it left and give it much more depth. So this was MS drop, and this one sounded like this alone. So that was how that sounded. So far it sounds like this. Okay, let me come somewhere here. So that's just the vibe it's giving. So let me break down the other bars in this section. So this is the first major bass in this section. So let me now solo everything with the bass from where the groove came in. So I bounced the bass to waves because of latency and all of that. So it sounded like this. So the bass kept playing like that all through the song. And the last part for this variation was at the end in here. So the bass at the outro was just a slight variation and it turned back to the same thing. So that was that about that bass there. So the next thing I added was this tab, and this tab basically was from a KORG VST, this tab. Let me see if I could get the name, my mini KORG. So that was the VST used there. So it sounded like this. So it sounded like this. So that was what the tab was basically playing. Let me play what we have so far. So let me play what we have so far. So you could hear where the stab came in there. So the next thing here was this guitar. So this guitar sound was not in the original track, but I added it because the beginning, especially the a cappella part, was just too dry. So this guitar sound basically was from analog guitar, and I think the VST is MS-20. Man, I love this guitar. So it sounded like this. So let me just solo it with the a cappella part so you enjoy the beauty. So So it went just like that at the beginning. So what I did here for this guitar, I added a punch, and that punch was at the end in here, this solo here. Yeah. So I added another guitar, same guitar, but it was a different part. Yeah. So something like that. So let me just show you here. So it gave that part that nice punch. So let me solo it so you hear how it sounded. So it gave that part a lot of energy to the solo. Also, I added a variation in the guitar at some point in the song, which was different from what was played in the intro, but it was a similar concept. So let me solo it alone. So it sounded like this. Exactly. So yeah, it was a bit different from the one I played at the beginning. So it sounded like this in the song. So that was how that actually sounded there in the song. So that was the second guitar. So the next part were some string section I added, and this was one of the parts I really love most in the song. The first string I added here was a violin, and this violin was from a span solo violin, just like you can see, and it sounded like this, and it sounded like this. So I added another string called legato string from KORG TRITON, and it was just playing an harmony to support the first violin. So it sounded like this. So that was the string I added there. Then I added the third string there also. And this third string also was from KORG TRITON, and it is the cello section. So that was the name of the string. And it sounded like this. So the three sounded like this in the song. So in the actual mix, it sounded like this. So the next thing I added was some synth. So This was the first synth here. All right, so it will make sense when I solo the entire song. So this synth was from Purity, and I combined three voices, as you can see, and this was the volume level to get that sound. So it sounded like this. So I added another synth. So I added another synth, and this synth was the same synth or a bit different, but you could see the voices here and the volume level. So this synth sounded like this alone. So it sounded like this alone, but in the song it will make much more sense. So let me just start from here. So the last thing was I added another synth, and it was just duplicate from the first synth, and this was the voices and the volume for them, and they came in somewhere around the end. So let me solo it alone. So this was just it. So it was just like a repetition. I kept repeating this melody up throughout the song. So let me just solo it with everything. It sounded like this. Lastly, let me just show you this bass effect here that came in at some point in the song. So it just sounded like this. But where it was much more obvious was here. So I think that's all for the song basically. So I'll play the instrumental from the beginning to the end, and that's it for this tutorial. So thank you for watching.
Nigerian music.